So I thought I would show you the end of the painting, what it's going to look like when you're all done, so you have a preconceived notion of how this whole thing comes together. I'm going to start with the drawing and then walk you through kind of every step of the way. What takes the most time, of course, here is doing the barn, the focal point of the painting. Everything else actually goes in pretty quickly. Let me get you a close-up of the barn, if I can. Let me raise this up a little. There we go. That's what we're looking for at the very end here. All right, let's get started. Let me show you the palette that I use for this painting. Of course, this is just a standard palette that I put some freezer paper over. I used titanium white, yellow ochre, dark sienna, ultramarine blue, cad orange, burnt sienna, midnight black, and cadmium yellow. So it's a limited palette. There's not a lot of colors here. I only used the red to sign this. You can see that I put out little bits. I've used up all of my paint. And what makes the cleanup easy on this here is I can just rip this paper off and tape some new paper on without trying to scrape the palette all off. All right, let's get started. So today's painting, I'm going to put a little barn in here in the layout. This is a 16-inch high by 20-inch wide canvas. I put the bottom of the barn about halfway up, right about the midpoint. Of course, it's for perspective. I have it sloping this way and sloping up this way. I'm a couple inches down from the top here, and about 1.5 inches or so over from the side. What the plan is here is to put a background in here with some black, white, and gray gesso. And I'm going to have a sun burning through over on this area here. I want to give myself plenty of foreground, so this looks like you're standing back looking up at it. And maybe a big tree over on this side. Put something over here for interest. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get the gesso and I'm going to color in where I want the windows and the openings to be. And I'll make the barn itself with gray gesso, make the windows with black, and I'll leave openings where I want some light to shine through. So let me get the gesso on here. I'll be right back. So I'm just using I did this entire thing with this little acrylic brush, Lang Nickel, number 6 flat, looks like. And I put in where I think some windows so I could see this is inside the barn, but there'll be a window looking out to the backyard. There'll be a window here. I'm thinking here, if I'm missing boards in the front, I'll be missing some boards here too, so I'll let the background kind of shine through there, be looking through it. And this will just be the inside of the barn. Now, just using the gessos here, in the chisel edge, I was able to just put in where I thought some boards would be. Haven't decided whether these are just going to be gray or if I'm going to be looking right through there. But I don't know. If the back of the barn is up there, I might not see anything, but there might be a little grayness here. So what I'm going to do now is just let this dry completely. Take about a half an hour. And then I'll do some unorthodox stuff. I'm going to take some blue painter's tape. I'm just going to tape right over this entire barn, cover it all up. Then I'm going to take some more gesso and I'm going to put some background in here. Now, I do it like this because if you get this all laid out ahead of time, you have a pretty good idea where everything's going to go afterwards. Bearing in mind, this gesso is quite hard to cover up. If you have a transparent paint, you're going to see everything right through here. So you'll have to use something opaque to cover up any mistakes that you might have. But let me get this dried. I'll get it all covered with tape. I'm going to put some background in here also using the gesso. This will just give me a big foreground area here. Back in a minute. So this is what I've done. I let this dry and put some blue painter's tape over my barn because I didn't want to lose it. This actually makes it a little bit easier to see the perspective. My vanishing point, it's a 1 point perspective drawing here. My vanishing point's way out here. So this has to go from here to that horizontal line. This part here, the front of the barn, is going to be parallel with the deck here, parallel with the bottom of the canvas. And here at this point, we'll go up to that vanishing point. So that'll go up a little bit. That'll go down a little bit. This gable and this gable, hey, you can't see, I don't have a pencil. This gable here and this gable here have to be the same. So if you can find a way to make these, I think this is actually the hard part, trying to get these two things even. So these two gables have to be the same. So now that this is all set, covered up, I'm going to take some, again, some black gesso and a natural sponge. And I'm going to take this natural sponge. I'll get it. I have a bunch of sponges here. Just as a natural sponge that I just ripped up. And we'll take this natural sponge and we'll use this to create some background trees with this black gesso. Just a little bit around here, leaving a space over here for where the sunlight's going to come through. So let me get that gesso on. Now remember, this is gesso is just acrylic primer. So you're going to use, you're not going to use your oil brushes for any part of this here. Just use regular acrylic brushes, cheap brushes, just to put the gesso on. And we'll let this again dry for quite a while, usually a half hour or so, maybe an hour. I'll probably get this part done today and then look at it. And then tomorrow, I'll actually start the oil. But I have a pretty good idea of what I want right now. Now, if you don't want your barn this big, if you don't want it here, move it anywhere you want. In this particular painting, I usually have my barns really low. In this particular one here, I thought I'd set it up a little bit higher. You're standing here and looking up over the roof line. All right, I'll get started. All right, let me think this through. I think I'm just standing back looking at the painting. Sometimes it's, if you're right up next to it, you can't quite tell what you want. I think right around the barn, there's a little palette paper, a little damp sponge here. I think right around the barn, I'm gonna keep walking back and looking at this. So let me dab this in here. Let's see, some tree branches here. It's hard to see exactly what I want. I think I'm going to go right over top of the roof, but I'm going to come down around the back side here. Let me think. See these natural sponges. See, let's put a little tree right here. Boom. Ba-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum, boom, boom. Not too much. There's a little bigger guy here. All right, a bunch of bushes here. Now I could maybe put a fence in here. Let that dry a little bit. I want that to be darker. Here too. I just had this awful thought that if I didn't outline my barn with white, I'm not going to be able to see the edge of it. So I put white on the outside, breakboards, I don't know. If I used black here and the barn is black, I'm not going to be able to see the barn. Boom, boom, boom. Dun, dun, dun. There's your barn. There's your barn. I did outline that in white. Well, you can see yesterday I just using some sponges and a liner brush, some white, gray, and black gesso. I put this whole barn in, filled the bottom in here where I believe the grass is all going to be. And I put the black gesso down here because, you know, the underpainting for grass is usually dark anyways. It wouldn't be white. So this is all dry and it's ready to go. So I'm going to start. I have an old dirty or worn out 1-inch brush here. I'm just going to apply some liquid clear to this whole canvas. Now you can put too much of this on. You have to be real careful. Get it on there and just work it in. You want to use your old worn out brush for this. You can use a 2-inch brush, doesn't matter. This is because we're doing a wet on wet technique. We want to have this liquid clear on here to make everything blend a little bit easier. I don't know what this liquid clear is, varnish or something. It's this is a Bob Ross product. I've had this forever. It's almost impossible to use this stuff up. I'll set that to the side. Careful, this stuff gets everywhere. Now for the sky, let me show you my palette. It's a little unorthodox. This is Reynolds freezer wrap paper. And I just put it over my palette, taped it on. Much easier to clean up afterwards. Plus I can write on it so that I don't forget what I'm using. I'm starting off with yellow ochre, dark sienna, French ultramarine blue, titanium white. I mixed a couple of colors down here. This is just yellow ochre, dark sienna, and white. And this I've added a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm just trying to get a misty look here. Now, these are transparent colors, so once I put this on, you should be able to still see everything right behind here. Let's give it a try. Yeah, a little misty look. All right. I'm going to grind this in, so I'm going to hang on to this. The blue is just to gray it down just a little bit. I hate that when that stretcher bar shows through like that. Put it on thin enough, even though it's titanium white's opaque. You put it on thin enough, you'll be able to see everything right through here. That's what we're looking for. By doing this, they're pushing these trees back, setting them into the mist. We want all that stuff to be really in the background. Now, I used, doesn't matter if this gets down here either. I used some different colors of gesso here to make these faraway trees. Now I think This is going to be my brightest spot. I'm going to just clean this brush. I'm just using odorless paint thinner. I'm still using the old worn out brush. I have a 5-gallon bucket here with a piece of plumbing pipe in it that I brush this out on so that it doesn't get everywhere. Now I think right here, let me stand back. I always have to stand back and look at this. Right there. Let me just go straight titanium white, a little bit right here on the brush. Just a little bit. I'm going to work this in right here. I have it on the corner of the brush, trying to keep the corner to the center. Working this out. This is just a bright spot. Almost kind of like a little sunburst here that you're watching. You're standing back here, you know, you look like the sun just burning through. Pull this right out over the trees. Stand back and take a look at that. I don't really want to see brush marks anywhere. See if I can. Might be better to small circles in here. Now, if that's not enough brightness for you, you can add some more. A little bit more, a little bit more. Right about here. Even brighter. If I want that to be brighter, really bright, to make the surrounding sky darker. Looks pretty bright. I want to darken the edges up just a little bit. Here, maybe here. So let's darken it up just a hair with the dark sienna. That mix I have. So I have this mix here that has a little dark sienna, yellow ochre, French ultramarine blue. All right, I thought about this now. I think behind the barn, what I'd like to do, now that I've got this pretty well fogged out here, I think what I'd like to do here is throw some trees in behind the barn. And for that, I'm going to mix up a little bit cadmium orange and midnight black. Now, I would normally use ivory black, but I ran out. I want it to be dark, maybe just a hint of white. Why am I using orange and black here? Well, I'm going to be using orange in the barn. A little bit of cadmium orange, a little bit of black, and I'm just going to put some trees in back here. Barn, I thought, what the heck? Let's just put. Let's go. Maybe put a bunch of trees in here. Doesn't have to be totally black. That's why. We'll save the super black stuff for the foreground. These are just right behind the barn. Oh, careful you don't make the branches thicker than the tree, which I'm guilty of. Thinner, more thinner. You could use, if you don't want to use paint thinner, you can use oil. My barn started in my ground stuff, but I think this is going to be, a fence. So I might lose some of that fence. Put a couple of posts in. Put the side of the barn in before I lose it. Some posts in here. A lot of these in. I need more paint thinner. Now, where this is a little bit, the fence is a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Add a little more black to this mix. Just added a little more black. It's a little, just a step closer. Much easier to work on this freezer paper than the actual palette for some reason. And I can never get the palette clean. I don't know if you run into that. That blocks you off. How do you get to the backyard? I'll start making these a little closer together as I go down here. Something like that. Farther apart up here, closer together down there. And we'll bury the fence here. In grass, you know. I'm going to start with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. I'm going to use, let me clean this brush. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. And I'm going to use a number 2 flat bristle brush. I'm going to use that here to start the tops. You back that up a little bit. Let me do this. Let me take some of that dark color I just mixed up. Let me take some of that dark color I use for the fence. Let me do this. Let me put this overhang in here. Hopefully if I get this right, I want that to look like you can still see something through here. I think I'm going to use this here too. I'm going to go ahead and make these boards. I'm just going to fill in this darker area. Fill this in too. I'm going to put a little, a little black, a little French ultramarine blue in this mix here. Do this. Let's fill in some of these guys here. This is inside the barn. I know they're going to have to pull a post over that. Let me just get this dark here hitting this side of the barn. That'll be inside the barn, and this will be the back wall. It'll be a slightly different color. If you don't fill it in too harshly, you can almost see some board lines here. By that I mean leaving a little space between this brush, creating some automatic board lines. That color is mixing from behind too. Something like that. The window here. Trim it out later. Okay. Sienna, French ultramarine blue. More blue. I want it dark. A little burnt sienna mixed into the mix. Because I'll be using a lot of sienna on the barn. Now, when you pull this down, pull it straight down. Right around that window. There's this overhang here, so burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue. Pull some down here too. And don't go too far down here, just go a little ways. I'll put some underneath this overhang too. The blue that's in here will give me a nice it'd be good for these boards over here. All right. Let me think. Give me some old. This is the shady side, so. Give me an indication of some old boards there. And I'll take that. Now, brown color. Let me clean the brush. Do this. Let's take some. Use some cadmium orange, burnt sienna, and a little white. Let me see if I can just brush mix this. You know what? Wipe that brush a little better. I'm attempting to stay away from paint thinner, so I'm just wiping it off on a rag. Let's get cad orange, burnt sienna, and a little bit of white. I don't want to mix them too much. Use another, yeah, okay. Let me just throw this on and see what it looks like. Start from the bottom up. Cad orange, burnt sienna, white. Keep varying the mixes. Start from the bottom up. Pull it right into that black. Right into the black. A little more burnt sienna. Some browns in here. Be a little whiter over here, so a little white, a little orange, a little white, a little orange. thinking the sun's hitting here, so pull right into that the black that you have up there. I'm changing from the straight edge to the chisel edge. Clean this off a little bit. Take some of this black and pull it down. Turn it occasionally to get some board lines. Don't overdo. This has to stay dark underneath the overhang. Pull that black into the... Okay. Gives you the look of old rustic boards here. We put some more of this orange mix around this window first. Something like that. Be here. Picture out of a magazine. So I don't know what the colors are exactly, but I'm going to call that whole thing a window. Okay. Now, if I take my liner brush, wipe this out a little bit. Probably washing it more than I need to. Let me take my liner brush back here. Some of that paint thinner, a little dark mix, blue, black, burnt sienna. Put a distinct line right here. And then around the outside of where the trim would be on the window. And now it looks like there's trim on the window. Do the same thing to this lower one. I have a door with a little a door here. Using my light colors, let's put this door in. I'll put a frame right around it so you can see it better. Cad orange, burnt sienna. Back this up. Let's do this. Do I have any white? Just straight titanium white. Another flat brush. I think. Let me take that, no, not white. That background color. Sky color. That sky color. Let's see if I can get this in here. Bigger window. Something like that. Yeah, I like that better. And feel free to change your mind, you know. I don't know, it's 3 panes of glass, maybe. Using my dark mix, I'm putting in some other board lines here. I'm using my same color I used on the walls here. And I'm just putting some boards to hold up that overhang. Like that. You can't hardly see it, but they're there. It's black in the background. I use this stuff here. Foreground. Clean up, look at this. A little black. Blue. Blue, blue, blue. Black. White. You could do this with a knife, doesn't matter. I'm going to pull these colors down. Good brush mix here. Let's do this. Let's take this broken thing right out over the roof. Broken board. And pull some of these white down too, right over the roof. Indication of raggedy, broken lumber. French ultramarine blue and black. My mixing spot right here. Let me get a little bit of paint thinner. And I think, if I can get this to flow, wish I had steadier hands here, but trying to turn the brush. So I put the horizontal guys in first. And put these vertical ones in afterwards. Now you're going to alternate the shingle lines. So you have one here in between. Go in between the ones that you have. Let's go back and put the holes in the roof. I said if you wait till tomorrow, I have to clean that whole edge up somehow. If you wait till this dries, you can really put some good holes in the roof. When your colors aren't all blending together, you can really get that black there. Yellow ochre, dark sienna, orange. I think if I just brush mix a whole bunch of different colors here, you just lay it all in. Just see what this black and yellow ochre look like. How about a little bit of black, cad yellow. This is ultramarine blue, cad yellow. And this is dark sienna, yellow ochre. All kinds of different flavors here. I'm just going to take, let me think. Actually, I want to start off kind of light. So, up by that fence line. Let me see with a little bit of white and yellow look like. Stand back here. This is where my sun is, mostly right here. White and yellow right there. You push it in. Push it in. That opens up the blade. Opens up the brush a little bit. We're gonna have to move these colors around, otherwise it's gonna look like stripes on here. Different colors, different colors. We'll go back and do some more work with the fan brush, but let's just block in a bunch of color here. Browns, 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 browns. Greens, greens. Mix it all in, mix it all in. All right, some more of the, more yellow. Yellow, some white. Pull this down here. All different flavors. My yellow lambs. Going down this way. I could make some taller grasses too. Let me get some yellow ochre here. Maybe a burnt sienna. I don't know. Just throw some colors in here, see what we got. Different flavors, different flavors. Not enough paint. Dark sienna. Blue. Anything you have. Oh, I kind of like that. Dark sienna, a little blue, a little whatever you pick up. Maybe I would have some light. Light coming through here, and then I need a lot of green here. I don't have any yellow left. Need some more green. Get some yellow on here. Cad yellow, yellow ochre, titanium white. Although I kind of want this to be browner over here. Oh, you know what? A little bit of this orange too. Play with some orange. A little bit of orange. I don't know. I'm just taking everything off the canvas that I have. Or everything off the palette. Yellow ochre. Just slamming it into different things here. A little darker over here, excuse me, in the corner. Burnt sienna. Kinds of different flavors. Blue, cad yellow. Just fan brushing to it. I'm just pushing up. create patches. Indian yellow. It's a little different effect, just pushing up. Don't overdo. I think I've just trying to use the dirty brush I already have, but I'm going to have to throw some paint on it. I'm going to have to lighten it up a little bit. I think, so I should probably have it end down here someplace. Definitely need to throw some color in. Let me start with a little yellow ochre and see what, if I cut it in, if I come out, I might even need to brown it up a little bit. I might like S curve. I don't want it to be straight. I'm laying it on thin right now because I'm not sure this is what I want to do. I'll put the grass back in later. And this just goes out to kind of nothing down here. Make it a little bit bigger because you're going to make it smaller with the grass. A little undercolor. Dark sienna. And make it down in the middle, so I can put grass over it. Maybe a little yellow ochre, and white, dirty it up a little bit. For the center. And then it's too wide right there. Fix that. Path here. Wider here. And darker. Darker on the corner here. I knew that I was going to have a problem here. Blue and yellow. Make some green. Well, that might be too green for what I'm looking for. Need it to be the same as the other colors. Too green. Should be darker here. Pull this out into the path. I'll shape my path. Actually, I want to pull some of the. I wanted to keep the same colors. Pull some of this green into the path here. The grass right in there. On this side, it would be The green would be pulled in. You know what? I have some sky color. I wonder if I can use that. This is the sky color. Parallel to the bottom of the canvas there, Mike. Lighter, lighter, lighter. And then as it gets over here, some of my browns. Specks. But certainly light up here. It's my orange color. Orange. Burnt sienna. Push that over the grass a little bit here. Push that grass into the speck. I do need to pull. So I got a nice path here, I think, leading to the barn. There's one paint thinner, red paint. And when you put the frame over, it doesn't take away from the signature, doesn't take away from anything. All right. Let's call that one finished. So except for the barn takes all the time, everything else takes no time at all. In the foreground, I mean, really, it didn't even take 5 minutes. Coming up with the idea to put the path in afterwards took some time, but sun's coming this way, keep it dark on the left. Make sure you push the grass up over it on the right. And we'll just call that one finished.